Texas to tip off our Saturday showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy. A Big 12 battle between the Texas Tech Red Raiders taking on the Kansas State Wildcats. We're expecting a sellout crowd here in Lubbock for good reason. These two teams both made the Elite Eight a year ago. Those tournament runs on the back of some terrific defense, and they've carried those strong defensive performances into this season. Both teams in the top 10 in scoring defense. We are so glad to have you in here today for a Big 12 battle alongside Reed Geddes. I'm Jay Alter, and Reed, when you look at these two teams, the offensive numbers, they are going to be at a premium today. So who do you expect to take over on that side of the court?
It's going to be Jared Culver. And listen, this is a kid that Big 12 fans, we knew he was going to be good. I don't think anybody expected him to start the way he has. He is not just playing at a high level. He's playing at an elite level. Breakout game in Madison Square Garden against Duke. And listen, his numbers are off the charts, but his feel for the game, he has been outstanding. He'll be in the conversation for Player of the Year in the Big 12 with Dedrick Lawson and some of the other guys. But, man, he has just been great. If Kansas State's going to have a chance, they're going to have to D up on Jared Culver.
Culver leads the Red Raiders in every single category: points, rebounds, and assists on the offensive end. It all starts with number 23.
Averages, you saw that 20 points per game against West Virginia earlier this week. Did not score in the first half. Only attempted one field goal. Finished the game with 18 points.
And for Kansas State, there's no Dean Wade, the Big 12 preseason Player of the Year. That was expected. Who we did expect to see was Kamau Stokes. He is out today for the second game in a row. It's a foot injury, the same foot that he missed 7 games with last year, and he's held out for a second straight contest. No good from Jada on the first attempt.
I mean, really a negative perfect storm, right? I mean, this is a Kansas State team, even with Stokes, have struggled almost historically to score. Just can't score the ball. And, boy, you don't ever want to come in and play Texas Tech's defense, even if you're a good offense. But if you're struggling and you don't have 2 of your double-figure averaging scores, if you don't have them on the bench, man, suddenly what was going to be a very heavy lift has become a monumental task for the Wildcats to score the basketball.
So with Kansas State missing about 25 points per game, who, if anybody, on the offensive end, or is it by committee, can step up and provide?
Well, you know, and not just the numbers. You see Dean Wade sitting on the bench. People forget Dean Wade may be the best passing big man in the country, and K-State runs their offense through Dean Wade.
Points at a premium this afternoon, but Matt Mooney bags 3.
Bruce Weber wants to play this game in the high 40s, low 50s, and I don't think that's going to get it done. I think to win this game, they're going to need at least 55 points, and they're going to have to shoot up over 45%.
It almost sounds silly. In 2019, a coach would say high 40s, low 50s, but when you're missing what you're missing and you defend as well as you do, you can win a game like that.
Well, and that's not the shot he wants. If they don't get a shot in transition, Bruce Weber wants 8-10 passes before they take a shot.
Here's a takeaway. Mike McGurl blocked from behind. Great transition defense from Lawrence Odiase.
Now, McGurl had no idea that Odiase was coming. He's looking over his shoulder, and he sees Culver coming, has no idea that big 6'9" Lawrence Odiase is coming in behind him. Almost slowed down a little, right? I mean, he got to the basket, and I don't know whether he was measuring his steps, but boy, did not finish very fast.
Here's Barry Brown Jr. He's the lone 1,000-point scorer playing today. They've got 3 of them, but with Stokes and Wade out, it'll be on Barry Brown's shoulders.
Look, that's a bad turnover by Mike McGurl, but that's the right strategy, right? When you penetrate, do not over-penetrate. Get in there, jump stop, or keep your balance. Texas Tech may lead the country in taking charges, so don't go in there out of off balance. Don't over-penetrate, and pitch the ball to the weak side. Now, you can't throw it at the guy's feet, but that's the right approach.
Kyler Edwards fading away and hits it. Edwards, a freshman that the Red Raiders are really excited about.
A really good start offensively for the Red Raiders.
How will Kansas State break down this tenacious Texas Tech defense, one of the best defenses in all of college basketball? Shot clock winding down. Brown steps into a 3, leaves it short. And you are seeing why early in this game just how good this Texas Tech defense is.
Well, they've taken 3 shots, and I'm not sure any of the 3 have really been a good shot at the basket. And boy, that is a
offensive foul.
That was a point of emphasis that Bruce Weber told you and I. He looked at us and he said, look, we are not a bad shooting team. In fact, we're a good shooting team. And we both looked at him kind of wide-eyed and we're like, what? He goes, look, it's not that we can't shoot, it's our shot selection. And so Bruce Weber wants his team to be more selective in the shots they take.
He found a way to get this Kansas State team to the Elite 8 a year ago. They returned 93% of that scoring, but a large part of it out for today. The expectations were sky high for Kansas State, picked second in the preseason poll. Edwards buries another. Texas Tech out to a hot start, and Bruce Weber says, give me a timeout. We'll step aside, back in 30 seconds, Tech up early. Exactly the start the number 11 team in the country wanted here at home in front of a sellout crowd. Texas Tech 8, Kansas State nothing. He's Reed Geddes, up Jay Alter. The Texas Tech, everyone knows about the defensive numbers. Number 2 in the entire country in scoring defense. But the offense has been hot out of the gate.
Yeah, just a perfect start for Texas Tech. And look, defensively, they throw a lot of things at you. And Mayween and the post players for K-State, when you catch that ball, you're going to get double teamed from the baseline weak side. And they're going to do that to try to force the turnovers.
Passing out of it this time leads to an open 3. Clangs off, no good from Cartier-Chata.
A nice box out by Matt Mooney.
Mooney weaving through everyone, leads to a Culver 3, uncontested, can't connect.
Well, K-State just needs a clean look at the basket. Jada had a nice look last time down, and you're just going to have to make those baskets.
Trying to get something going, they try inside. Shot clock continues to tick down. To 5, fading away. Brown Jr. rattles in and out. Kansas State still scoreless as we pass the opening 4 minutes here in Lubbock. Mooney up to Owens. Oh my! Almost threw it down. Was fouled on the dunk. Tariq Owens heads to the foul line as we step aside, almost with a SportsCenter top 10 play. When we come back, we go inside the Red Raiders locker room with Chris Beard after their win in Morgantown. In Morgantown was a big one for Texas Tech. They opened 2019 with their program's first ever win on the road against West Virginia in Morgantown. A 62-59 victory. There's the winner from Davide Moretti. And you know what? When you win, you get to do this. Or Chris Beard thinks so. Even though Texas Tech has a number next to their name, they celebrated like it was their first win. Bob Huggins, the West Virginia head coach, was asked about that, and it kind of created a stir in the social media world. Yes. Huggins saying, as you take a look at what he said, classless and bad for our game. But I will point out, he did say him and Coach Beard still a lot of respect and a lot of love.
Interesting choice of words from Bob Huggins.
I would say in the heat of battle, I see both sides. Chris Beard totally justified in wanting to celebrate what is a monumental moment for this program. The first ever win. But if you're Bob Huggins, you don't like celebrating like that early in the season.
Yeah, you know, it's January 2nd. That was my first reaction when I looked at it. But listen, building a program is more than just instilling a good offense and a good defensive scheme. It's about creating a culture. And that is the culture that Chris Beard has created. So a lot of coaches may say, hey, look, you know, no win is that good and no loss is as bad as it seems. But that is very much the social media savvy world that this Texas Tech program is being built upon.
So let's take a look at what Chris Beard had to say in response to Coach Huggins.
These games are so hard to win. that when we do have some success, we have a 12-hour rule where we want to celebrate our success. And so anything that happens in a closed-door locker room wasn't a sign of disrespect. To me, you kind of flip it. It's actually a sign of respect. Texas Tech had never won at West Virginia before. Our players knew it. Our staff knew it. To us, they're one of the pinnacle teams in our league. We're striving to get in the same neighborhood they live in. And so, we enjoyed that.
So I think if you listen to Chris Beard, both coaches justified in their opinion.
Well, it was a perfect response from Chris Beard, right? I mean, he could have not taken the high road, and he showed the proper amount of deference to Bob Huggins, who Bob Huggins has earned it. Everyone Bob Huggins gets to say whatever he wants when he's asked a question, and he gets to have an opinion, and he can articulate the opinion. Chris Beard showed respect to Bob Huggins that he deserves, but he finished that press conference with saying how much respect, how much deference he has. But you know what? It's my program, and we'll do it again. And so it was a huge win. And listen, this was a game that Texas Tech did not play well. They shot in the 30s. They were out-rebounded by 10. They could not make a three-point field goal, and yet they went to Morgantown and won. And so that's why they celebrated.
For Chris Beard, you almost don't believe this is only his third year with how quickly he has been able to build this program. The Elite Eight last year, achieving another monumental win on the road to West Virginia. Tariq Owens, the follow slam, perfect position.
But you know, back to your point, a less mature coach would say, hey, guess what? Comment on your team. Don't comment on my team.
Totally.
This is my locker room, and we'll do what we want. And he didn't do that, and he was right not to do that.
And they have taken that form from Morgantown and brought it home. Another turnover. This 12-0 lead, it's been defense into offense.
And they just attack you. And look at all of the purple shirts. Everybody's looking up at the rim. Nobody's looking for a gray shirt to put a body on. And, boy, when that shot goes up, number one, you shouldn't be able to dribble all the way to the basket without somebody cutting you off. But you better turn around and box out. K-State just needs something positive right now, right? Whether it's a run out, whether it's I don't know what it is, but right now they need something positive. You wonder how deflating it was for Kamau Stokes to have practiced yesterday, twice yesterday. Expectation was that he would play in this game, and then you come out and suddenly he's sitting over on the bench.
Davide Moretti sinks the floater. It's now a 14-0 lead for Texas Tech. Kansas State can't buy a bucket. The foul here may get their first points of the game from the foul line. Barry Brown headed there. Tonight, college basketball continues with the #1 Duke Blue Devils taking on Clemson at Cameron Indoor. It's been a while since the Tigers have won. January 4th, 1995, exactly 24 years ago yesterday, that game, 8 Eastern on ESPN. Well, it took 6.5 minutes, but Kansas State finally has their first point of the game.
Well, you were talking about Kamau Stokes not playing, and look who just checked into the game.
There he is
out on the floor, and boy, I tell you what, talk about mixed signals. First we heard he was going to play, and then we were told he is not going to play, and then here he is. Interesting.
He is on the court. Well, Reed, you went over literally 2 minutes before tip, and they told you he was out today.
This isn't, I don't want to overstate it and say it's desperation, but boy, I'm not sure I would warm a kid up, get him loose, and then sit him for 7 minutes if I was going to play him and then check him into the game. But maybe he was over on a bike. Maybe he was keeping it loose.
We did not see him lined up for that national anthem before tip-off, so he might have been still getting it loose.
Well, we were told he didn't dress.
Follow up and fouled. The Kansas State still doesn't have a made field goal, but they'll head back to the free throw line in search of some points.
You know, be optimistic of your K-State. Maybe this will have a Willis Reed moment, right? You see one of your star players come out there. He's not 100%, but he's going to suck it up and he's going to play. And look, immediately you see the impact that Kamau Stokes has on the floor.
And they want to be cautious with the senior because this is the same foot that he missed 7 games with a year ago.
Here in Lubbock.
That injury happened
here. Yeah.
Almost a year ago, January 7th, on this very court.
He's got a pin in the foot. The doctors say he can't hurt it more. He can't break. It's not at risk of breaking. It's a pain tolerance right now. And you and I got a chance to talk to him in practice, after practice last night. And
he told us he was going to play.
He expected to play.
That's why we were so surprised when he was not in the starting lineup.
Now, who's not going to play is the preseason player of the year, Dean Wade. And, boy, we saw him in warm-ups, and he looked pretty good shooting the ball.
What do you think of Kansas State here going with a little full court pressure? Almost causes a turnover.
Well, I think it's really good at coaching, and it's an adjustment by Bruce Weber. You're down 14-3. You need to do something different. And they've done a lot of pressing all year long, and Bruce Weber just trying to push buttons to get his team going.
And the expectations for Bruce Weber and this Kansas State team sky high. You see those two seniors both in the preseason all Big 12 team. They were picked second in the coaches poll.
Yeah, I mean, an Elite Eight run and you get your top 6 players back, almost 100% of every statistical category returning, and expectations off the chart.
Here's Stokes, forced a 3 there. Texas take on the run out. Up to Owens.
Treek Owens blocked that shot flat-footed.
Yeah.
He didn't even jump. And back to Bruce Weber's point about not a very good shot selection. Does not even jump, just that long arms, and runs out there, and that's a tough guy to shoot over. Number 2 in the Big 12 in block shots.
Substitution coming in. Davide Moretti checks out for Brandon Francis, the Florida transfer, who's been a real impact off the bench this season for Chris Beard. There is some depth to this Texas Tech team. It is not just Jared Culver. They go deep, and they have a balanced scoring right beneath him.
Yeah, you know, the next 3 players, Edwards, Francis, and Corprew, they all average right at 7 points per game. So to your point, not only depth, but balance.
And here is Culver. Double team immediately comes, passes out of it. And Deshaun Corprew buries it.
Just his 9th made 3-point field goal of the season. Well, he shot that ball with a lot of confidence.
8 minutes have gone by in this first half. Kansas State looking for their first made field goal. All 3 points came from the foul line. Bodies flying in transition, and a timeout taken. We'll take it with them. Texas Tech. It's all Red Raiders, 17-3 in this first half.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by 5-Hour Energy Shots. Get back to 100%. And in part by USAA. Insurance, banking, and investments tailored for the military community.
This is from shoot-around earlier this morning. The entire team of Texas Tech linking arm in arm, running down and back on the court. Chris Beard said it's all part of establishing the culture, the togetherness of this team.
You know, and as a fan and you're outside the program, you think of a culture as, well, what's your offensive scheme? What's your identity, defensive scheme? And it's more than that. And it's things like that that, you know, coaches so often emphasize that create a culture.
And that is why this team under Chris Beard, that was not just a flash in a pan. The Elite Eight run a year ago, this team with the culture that he has established in just 3 short years, this is sustained success that he has brought to Texas Tech.
Well, look, you say the same thing about Kansas State, right? I mean, that's the predicate, that's the tenacity and the mentality that the Wildcats play with. And right now we talk so much about how bad they are offensively. For crying out loud, they're 10-3. I mean, they don't have to be great shooting the ball. If they were just average, this team would be at an elite level.
Right now, they are 0 for 13 from the field. 0 for 13. Doesn't help that they're giving up offensive rebounds as well. Matt Mooney can't connect. Hey, Reed, when a team is 0 for 13 on the road, how do you get something going?
You get to the free throw line. You know, that's the best thing that you can do.
Go back to Chris Beard and how he has established this culture, the philosophy where it starts. 4-1, the mental toughness is 4, physical toughness 1, and these guys, they don't just practice it, they really believe it.
Yeah, and that's a nod to Bobby Knight, right? That's a quote that Bobby Knight used to describe, and Chris Beard from his years with Coach Knight has, from the day he walked back into the doors in Lubbock, that has been his mantra, 4-1.
When he took this job, Reed, the expectations were not this. He has already exceeded those here in Lubbock.
Yeah, and then some.
And then some. And it's all coming together for the number 11 team in the country. Great feed inside. Francis can't make the layup. And a foul on the rebound. Xavier Sneed was off and running.
Really good spacing that time, and a pass from Tariq Owens to Brandon Francis, wide open underneath the basket, and Kamal Stokes checking back into the game. To me, that's the biggest issue, right? It's not that he waited 7 or 8 minutes before he checked in, because maybe he was doing something to stay loose. But then to play a couple of minutes and go sit back down, that's tough on a foot.
There is no flow offensively right now for Kansas State. They've gone more than 10 minutes without a made basket, and now another turnover.
Yeah, that is a philosophy of how Texas Tech defends on the ball screens. They push the guy down below the screens, and then look, that's 6'9" Tariq Owens moving his feet laterally and drawing a charge on Barry Brown. And in practice yesterday, Tariq Owens came out and he guarded somebody and he was hedging him, and Chris Beard stopped practice and he goes, "What are you doing? You're not just a big, you're athletic. You can defend anybody on the floor. Get down, square up, and play defense." And it was fascinating watching him talk to Tariq Owens about his mental approach to the defensive end.
The sophomore from Italy weaving through traffic. Francis can't knock down the 3.
Good
Big
pass.
outlet pass. Jada catches up to it, and that's the first basket for Kansas State, and it's an and 1.
What a terrific outlet by Levi Stockard. He got that rebound, and watch him turn and square up. He looks up the floor and throws the long pass. And there for a second, I was afraid that Jada was going to be a little too casual finishing that basket. But, man, maybe that's something that can get these Wildcats going.
Reed, it was almost 11 minutes until that first made basket.
Look, you're not trying to pile on, right? But they come into this game,
well, it's significant.
325th in scoring out of 351 Division I schools.
And yet somehow they've won 10 games against some really good opponents in that non-conference schedule.
I'm going to say it again. They don't need to be great shooting the ball.
No.
Just be average. And they're going to win a ton of basketball games.
And why is the defense? Again, purple jerseys flying on the floor looking for the turnover, and it's a jump ball. Possession arrow is with Texas Tech. College football megacast. We all know who's playing. Alabama and Clemson, the best 2 teams. Here are all the ways you can watch it. You choose your choice. I mean, they give you plenty of options here.
But, dude, I couldn't find the game.
Monday, January 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern, no matter where you are watching it. I'll tell you what, that is a mega graphic for the mega cast in a mega game. And it really is a mega game. The best 2 teams in college football, no doubt about it this season, Alabama and Clemson. Shot clock winding down. It was to 1. Culver had to let it fly. Kansas State trying to get more in transition. Unable to come up with anything there. Going to the half-court set now. Barry Brown Jr. Oh, what a scoop to the hoop. 4 gray jerseys around him, and the senior found a way to get it to go.
Well, and so smart not to over-penetrate. He got to the paint, jump stop with very good body control, and a little bit of spark of life from Kansas State. Started down on the defensive end when everybody's diving on the floor, and then watch Barry Brown. He jump stops, does not over-penetrate, and a great, strong finish at the rim.
And don't look now, but we've got a single-digit game. Only a 9-point lead for Texas Tech after a 14-0 start.
And that's what's so amazing about Kansas State, right? You look at all the numbers and the struggles, and their defense is going to keep them in every single basketball game.
Just looking for that offense to get going. An offensive rebound will certainly help. And that's a great take for the freshman. Levi Stockard out of St. Louis, Missouri at Kansas State on a 10-3 run. This game's just a 7-point lead for Texas Tech. ESPN will have the College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. The Tide and the Tigers, Part 4. Number 1 Alabama, number 2 Clemson, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific. You can watch it on practically every ESPN channel and always the ESPN app. And can you believe this, Reed? Since Thursday, December 27th, Nancy Volland and Elias Ross have been living on that billboard in San Jose.
But why?
Well, they love college football. They love the Tide and the Tigers.
I do too, but man, I sit on my sofa, nice big screen TV to enjoy the game.
This game between two of the top 10 defenses in the entire country, and it has lived up to it. Texas Tech got the great start, a 14-0 run, but they have gone ice cold. They're now 1 of their last 10 and 0 of their last 7.
Hey, defensively, the last 4 possessions, K-State has been great. That was a straight-up man-to-man matchup between Barry Brown and Jared Culver. And Culver listed at 6'5", Barry Brown shorter than that. You could not play better defense than Barry Brown just did.
So after the terrific start by Texas Tech, they were up 14-0 in this game. They've gone more than 4 minutes and 30 seconds without a bucket, and they've gone to a full court pressure here on the defensive end of the floor.
And you and I talked about, we thought one of the keys would be, can you make somebody beat you other than Jared Culver? So far, K-State doing that. He has 0 points so far in this game.
The Wildcats have cut this lead in half from 14 to 7. There's still plenty of time in this game.
Let me tell you who's made a difference. Levi Stockard. He came off the bench, got a great defensive rebound, threw an outlet for the first basket, and then going to that last break, got a great offensive rebound. But, you know, back to the same thing. When things go bad for K-State, it's usually because somebody took a bad shot.
Here's Tariq Owens. Stockard, great job defensively. Forces a deep 3, but guess what? Davide Moretti drains it.
Stockard stopped Tariq Owens with his left arm. Tariq Owens was about to drop step over his left shoulder, and Stockard just put an arm against his waist and just stopped him.
And that was great defense, and yet a 3 still for Texas Tech, much needed.
You're a post guy and you're stuck. Where do you look? You look offside, and so very good discipline by Tariq Owens.
Moretti, the sharpshooter from Italy, his second 3. 3 on the timer. Brown lets it fly, too much on it.
Good spacing right now.
Owens, not a 3-point shooter. He's only made 2 on the season, but guess what? Offensive rebound, and Jared Culver has his first basket from the hustle play.
Leads the team in scoring, assists, and rebounding, Jared Culver. Not sure why Tariq Owens took that shot. He's just 2 for 11 for the season behind the line. Chris Beard may have the same question for him here in a second.
Here's Kamau Stokes playing.
Beautiful.
Scoop to the hoop.
Man, the hesitation. He came off that on-the-ball screen and looked up at the rim, and the hesitation was beautiful.
I think the foot's okay.
Well, that was great.
Did not start this game because of a foot injury that they wanted to be cautious with, but tell you what, if that plays any indication, he looks A-okay.
Well, it was all set up by the hesitation, and he watch his eyes as he looks up at the rim, draws the defense to him, and then just explodes to the basket in a great finish. Oh, that's beautiful. That's what you miss, right? I mean, they got blasted earlier this week by Texas, and no Stokes and no Wade, and you just can't overstate the importance of having both of them, but certainly one of them.
They missed him for the first 7 minutes of this game. But he is back in and making a difference. Ball in his hands here.
Moving freely and all over the floor.
Xavier Sneed, he's yet to get going in this game, and they need him to. He's scoreless, 0 points. He was such a difference maker in that NCAA tournament run a year ago.
You know, one of those kids that kind of gets overlooked because of the 3 seniors, but you're talking about that NCAA run. Well, he had, what, 22 points in the game against Kentucky? You know, as they were headed to the Elite Eight. So, boy, if you're looking for somewhere to get some unexpected offense, you know, perhaps Xavier Sneed is that player. Look, I'm really pleased with the way Stokes is moving. You know, I was so bummed when we thought he wasn't going to play, but he seems to be moving very freely.
Here's Culver on the move. Passes out of the double team. Both teams really using the shot clock.
Great defense.
Ticks down again and a foul called. Sean Neal Williams, the freshman there.
I'm just telling you, you could videotape either one of these teams for a defensive clinic, right? The way they close out and they're down low and they've got a hand out, and then on the dribble penetration, he was called for pushing off, but just their ability to keep the ball in front of them, and you know, year in and year out, I don't think Bruce Weber ever gets enough credit for the way his teams defend every single year.
In the bonus for a 1-and-1. Moretti gets the first.
A 93% free throw shooter, now 27 for 29 for the season.
He grew up playing basketball in Italy. Says the biggest difference from the Italian game and the American game, the details, the preparation, the planning for each and every game. In Italy, it's more just go out there and ball.
So, but here's the problem. His dad was his coach. You can't say that. Right? You can't say, yeah, my old coach didn't do very good with the details.
Well, maybe Chris Beard is just exceptional in the details. Sorry, Dad.
That's a Thanksgiving Day conversation killer.
It bounces off Matt Mooney. It'll stay with Kansas State. No, we expected defense from these 2 top 10 defensive teams in the country, and we are getting it. Another block. 5 seconds on the shot clock for Kansas State to work with.
So one of the defensive schemes that Chris Beard does is they ice on the ball screens. And what that means is they push down. They don't allow offensive players to go over the top of screens on the ball. And Chris Beard's terminology they use is called down. And it's just like it sounds. You push the ball down away from the screen. Takes a tremendous amount of communication, not only on the guy defending the screener, but then on the back line, people rotating over to help.
Was originally called a block underneath, and then they changed it to a foul. That's why Cartier-Jada is at the foul line. Kansas State has gotten 6 of its 14 points from the foul line in this first half.
Well, here's the push down, and you see you get up on the high side and you just simply push the ball down away. And I think I'm not sure what they call that. It was a vertical contest, but the arm came down on the offensive player. If you're going to vertically contest as a secondary defender inside the restricted arc, you have to go straight up and straight down. That was a good call.
Foul call. Texas Tech shooting 1-and-1 when we come back, leading by 10.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball.
Reed Geddes, Jay Alter with you in Lubbock, Texas. Now, most teams that come into Texas Tech and start off 0 for 14 from the floor would be losing by a lot more than 10. But credit Bruce Weber. This is exactly what they strategize for. A low-scoring game, good, solid defense. And you know what? We're going to go into some offensive slumps. But if we can hang with them on the defensive end of the floor, we'll be okay.
1 assist and 5 turnovers. Bruce Weber's team shooting 19% from the floor. 0% from the three-point line, 0 for 7. They should be down by 20 or 25 points and been blown out of this arena. Instead, they're 5 shots down, right? I mean, they're just hanging in there. The tenacity and the defense of Kansas State keeping them in it.
And we've talked a lot about the culture that Chris Beard has built at Texas Tech, but it's very similar for Bruce Weber at Kansas State.
Kind of the same mentality, right?
Pride themselves on grinded out defensive side of the floor. And actually, the offense has been a lot better. How about that move? Cartier Chata up and under the rim for 2.
Took that ball dribbling with his left hand, had his right forearm out. I thought he was going to get called for a push-off.
So since starting 0 of 14, the Wildcats have made 5 of their last 8. Going inside at only 6'3", Davide Moretti. He's having a really good game today. He's up to 9 points now. Perfect from the floor. Xavier Sneed for 3. Leaves it short. He's still scoreless. Thought we were going to have 3 made baskets for the first time in this game, back to back. Sneed on the defensive end, juked out by Mooney. Clock winding down, 5 seconds to shoot. Culver looking for Owens, and another takeaway by this Kansas State defense.
Great defense.
Now can they get some points, trying to cash in on the other end. Barry Brown Jr., 1,000-point scorer for the Wildcats, trying to give them a spark here at the end of the first half. Off the dribble, right down the lane, a lot of contact, nothing called. Kansas State gets the offensive rebound.
That's over and back.
And a shot clock violation, and never hit the rim.
Yeah, that's over and back. And Kamal Stokes screaming for the ball, and boy, he's really making it known that he was open and wanted it, and he's down there spotted up and jumping up and down, waving and trying to grab the ball. But listen, that last play, you can't jump from the backcourt, catch the ball in the air, and land in the front court when you had possession in the front court. That should have been over and back.
Moretti passes off Owens. Got it. Tariq Owens has put Texas Tech back up by 14.
Tariq Owens can do a lot of different things. And that was a smooth-looking jump shot from the short corner.
This is his 3rd and final stop with college basketball. Started his career at Tennessee, then spent a couple of years with Chris Mullen at St. John's, and now he feels Texas Tech. It's all come together for him in his final year here with the Red Raiders.
You know, Kamal Stokes we saw him jumping up and down and yelling as he was standing in the corner, was still talking about it, went to the bench and was still saying, hey, look, you got to move the ball. And look, we talk about the numbers, you know, when Dean Wade doesn't play and Cam Stokes doesn't play. These are senior leaders. This is more than just about numbers. This is about leadership.
And I think Bruce Weber would agree with the point Stokes was making, because when we spoke to him at shoot-around yesterday, he said, we got to get it over to that weak side. That's exactly where Stokes was. Ball did not come that way, though. And a reach-in foul called on Jada, and Texas Tech in the bonus will head right back to the foul line.
You know, interesting that Kansas State is switching screens when Jared Culver sets the screen. So a lot of times you're playing a team that's got a 20-point a game score. When he sets on the ball screens, you just stay with him because you can't leave him alone. And Kamal Stokes and his teammates are switching those screens, and effectively, Jared Culver, that is just his 3rd point here in the first half.
So Kamal Stokes back into the game after he was heated going to the bench on a missed opportunity.
Look, we don't know how explosive he feels, but man, looks normal.
He looked great on that one drive.
Yeah. Maybe that was his point. Why are they going back to just one possession?
Now, Texas Tech is now doubling up Kansas State 32-16. Stokes goes into attack mode. Great floater.
Beautiful. And the body control not to over penetrate.
.45 seconds left of this first half. Texas Tech in control comfortably. Got out to a 14-0 lead, and they've done a nice job keeping that lead. It helped when Matt Mooney can drain a shot coming off the screen. Three seconds separating that shot clock to the game clock. Barry Brown draws a foul on the drive.
Kamau Stokes demanding the basketball when we last saw him. Comes back in, looks pretty healthy, grabs the ball and is in attack mode. And the body control, the floater not to over penetrate, just a beautiful offensive possession. He has the ability to make the game look easy.
An 1,000-point scorer for the Wildcats. Just hit that mark, and with all his injuries that he's suffered in his career, it is impressive.
Coming in and out of the game a lot. You know, just scored a nice basket, 24 seconds to go, gets taken out, and I would assume that's the coaching staff recognizing that, look, let's don't make him play any more defense on that foot than we have to. Offensive defensive substitution by Bruce Weber in the first half.
Shot clock is turned off here. Texas Tech trying to add to their 15-point lead. What has impressed you most about the Red Raiders of this first half?
You know, they started out so great, then they weathered a punch, but again, the consistency on the defensive end.
Moretti for three. That's his first miss of this first half. Culver has an opportunity at the buzzer. No good. A 15-point lead for Texas Tech. They had that hot start. It's been even since then. They picked it up right at the end, made 4 of their last 5. After break, you'll be in the studio. Chris Connor, Seth Greenberg, and LaFonso Ellis. Our Saturday showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy. Second half action here in Lubbock, Texas. Reed Geddes, Jay Alter with you. We told you at the beginning of the broadcast, if you weren't with us, I'll say it again. Jarrett Culver was going to be the guy offensively, or so we thought. It's actually been the supporting cast of Culver that has Texas Tech to this 15-point lead.
Well, and remember, he's coming off a game in which he scored 0 points at halftime at West Virginia, exploded for 18 points in the second half. And, you know, I thought Jarrett did a nice job of playing within himself. I can think of one bad shot that he forced, but a lot of times when you got a young kid averaging 20 points per game, you know, you start panicking a little bit and thinking, I got to get mine, and he did not do that in the first half. Credit K-State's defense on him.
Well, both of these teams are top 10 in scoring defense in the entire country, and those numbers show why.
Come on, you were out rebounded by 5. You haven't made a three-pointer. You're shooting 23% on the road, and you're still in the game?
You are very much still in this game. Need more on the offensive end, though. Who do you turn to?
You know, I go to Stokes. I'm looking. Yeah, there he is. I also might get the ball inside to Mayween.
Right on cue. Kamau Stokes opens the scoring with a 3 in this second half.
If I'm Bruce Weber, that's what I talked about in the locker room. Kamau, if you're going to play, go play.
And an offensive foul called on the other end. That is exactly what Kansas State needed in this opening 20 seconds.
All right, if I'm Stokes right now, I slam that ball inside to Mayween, see if I can get him to be a factor in this game. He's a kid that can score, but he's just been really inconsistent. Last 6 games, 4 points, 2 points, 4 points. Then he had 15, then he had 4, and then he had 13. I see if I can't get him some touches here early.
It was about a year ago in this very building, January 7th, that he injured his foot, missed 7 games. It's that same foot that held him out of the Texas game at the midweek, kept him out of the starting lineup today, but it looks A-OK right now. And they've got back-to-back baskets in this second half, and Xavier Sneed, that's his first of the afternoon.
Great start, right? You touch the ball twice, get 2 good, clean looks at the basket, and force a turnover on the other end.
They've come out with that same defense that we saw in the first half. Shot clock winding down again on Texas Tech. Culver passes out of it. Moretti, he was so good in that first half. Can't get that to go. And how about the effort on the defensive end? Barry Brown Jr. all the way up to Snead. A lot of contact. And we've got an official down.
That's Jerry. I don't know what happened. That's Jerry.
It was out.
No, it's not Jerry. That's Rick Crawford.
Rick Crawford is down. And I was watching the ball with Xavier Snead. We'll try and get a look for you on what happened with
cow.
Rick Crawford. Right at the middle of the court. In transition.
Boy,
very scary moment here.
If you are the praying type, now would be the time. This is horrifying scene going on.
Again, we have absolutely no idea how it happened.
Oh, I think it's a collision with a player. Bruce Weber, I saw him slap his hands. He may have knocked heads with somebody. Holy cow, Rick.
This is the
look at the top of your screen. Yeah, somebody checking into the game.
Right into the shoulder.
Oh, man, and he went down.
Really scary moment. You see him immediately sprawled on the floor. He is sitting up, which is great to see after a minute completely down.
There's another angle. He's up. I can't imagine that he will continue officiating. And before he went down, we had a blocking foul and going to shoot free throws. And
that is great to see.
Yeah, he's woozy. There's no way in the world he continues.
Yes, the officials just came over and said they will go 2 men.
Well, look, this isn't the most important part of this story, right? It's Rick's health and that he gets the proper care. He gets back to the locker room. But remember, guys like Jerry Pollard, they cut their teeth with 2-man crews. Now, it's been a long time. And so the biggest issue for them is their rotations have changed completely. And so now, instead of covering thirds and how you rotate, you're going to have one up and one back, you know, the way we used to do it back before you were born. And, you know, we were playing without a 3-point line. And, you know, again, I don't want to make that the story. The story is Rick, and we pray that he's okay.
He did walk off the court under his own power.
You can watch a lot of basketball and not see something like that, right? And you look
take it for granted, right?
Yeah, and you look at how little space those guys have to operate, and you kind of take for granted the fact that, hey, they're at risk of getting hurt too. I remember, and I'm going to go blank on his name, Jackson. I saw a game where a referee blew out his Achilles in a game.
And a travel is the call made by Jerry Pollard.
You know, and so you look over there and how little space there is, you know, on the sidelines, and it's not unique here. There just isn't much room. You see Bruce Weber, he's standing there and he's got a foot on the floor and just not much room.
Chris Beard urging this Texas Tech sellout crowd into the game. The lead is dwindled to 9. Here's Moretti, the sophomore from Italy, over to Culver, fellow sophomore. One-on-one with Barry Brown. Takes him on the drive. Culver. That is why Jared Culver is in the Big 12 Player of the Year conversation.
Well, can you play any better defense than Barry Brown just played?
Nope. Snead keeps it alive for the Wildcats. The hustle from both of these teams has been outstanding throughout. Snead dumps it off. McCall, a lot of contact. Nothing called, gets the back. basket anyway.
Well, only the second touch of the game for Mayween. He touched it early on, had a turnover. Just the second time he's touched the ball.
They need to get McCall Mayween more active in this game. His career high came against Kansas, 29 points, but he's yet to be as consistent as they want. Got it done on the defensive end of the floor there.
Yeah, that looked ugly, but that was a good no call. As the officials would say, no call correct.
Snead dumps it off to McCall Mayween again. Charge before the basket. Wave it off.
You cannot over-penetrate against Texas Tech. When you get to the paint, jump stop. Don't pass and keep floating. If you do, you're going to run somebody over.
And there's the charge, which canceled out the McCall Mayween basket. The junior, he's got a great story. Born in a refugee camp in Cairo, Egypt, his family was seeking escape from war-torn South Sudan. The parents of Mayween finally settled in Salt Lake City, Utah. He said he felt like he grew up American, but he didn't have the citizenship, so he took it on himself to study up. And this fall, he passed the test, just became a U.S. citizen, and that's something he's really proud of. That time could not get in front of Matt Mooney, went around Mayween there for the hoop.
It's about the third spectacular finish we've seen at the rim in this game.
Inside the Snead, lost the handle. Kansas State trying to quiet this crowd. Here's Brown Jr. Great scoop to the hoop, exactly what the Wildcats needed.
And drew a lot of contact. You know, he ran into Odiasi and
there's McCall Mayween on the defensive end. A run out for the Wildcats. And Sean Neal-Williams just lost the handle.
Moretti continues to provide offensive punch for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. But man, how about Kansas State right back into this game?
Culver showing why he's the leader, and then learn the name, Davide Moretti, the Italian. He's been active, in Matt Mooney as well. Three-headed monster for Tech, who's up in this second half.
How is Kansas State back in this game? Go inside the play. I want you to watch the effort of Barry Brown, where he is when the ball's at the top of the key. He's inside, he's under the basket on the opposite side of the rim. The ball's at the top of the key, and then watch how far he goes to make this steal. He makes the steal on the other side of the floor, falling out of bounds. Tremendous effort by Barry Brown.
Effort from both sides has been outstanding. And it really, does effort translate to defense? Is it that simple? That's why these two teams are so good defensively.
You know, and it's coach speak, right? But your defense is predicated on effort, which should show up every night. You don't have to be in a rhythm. You don't have to have momentum. You just got to have the want to.
And both teams have brought it today. Remember, Kansas State, they were down as many as 14 in this game. They've cut it to single digits now and have the momentum in the second half. Explosive move by Brown, denied under the hoop. Norris Odiase says no.
Listen, Jared Culver may explode and end up with 20 points, but right now, Barry Brown absolutely has him locked up. Good rotation on the weak side by Tech. How about the game Barry Brown's having defensively?
And they have needed him to be every bit as good as that. Another defense, 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 another block. You can't say it enough, showing why these two teams are the top 10 in scoring defense in the entire country. You know, Chris Beard told us at shoot-around today was going to have a March feel, a grind-it-out NCAA tournament feel. And it absolutely has on the defensive side of the floor for both teams.
Mike McGurl closed out, had his hand up to prevent the jump shot, and then the ability to move his feet and draw a charge on Jared Culver. Great defense.
And I want to shout out Marquise Pettigrew and Jerry Pollard. Remember, it's just a two-man officiating crew right now with Rick Crawford still sidelined with that injury right at the start of the second half. And you wouldn't notice it was two guys out there.
It's exactly what I was thinking. You said it, and I thought, well, I don't want Rick mad at me, but I forgot, right? And that's the biggest compliment you can give these two guys. It's been a non-issue to everybody except Rick.
And we're still thinking of him in the final 15 minutes of this game. Hope he's okay. Xavier Sneed looking to get into attack mode over the Stokes. How about the handles on Stokes? The feed inside. McCall Maween, the finish.
I think he's touched the ball 4 times and scored 3 times.
The sophomore who grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah, originally born in South Sudan. He has come alive in this second half, and the Wildcats have needed him to do it. And a great feed from Stokes as well. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Culver forced into action. Does he recognize it? No, off his leg. Didn't even get a shot off.
Barry Brown's eating him up. I'm just telling you, he's eating him up. And Kamal Stokes with a beautiful pick and roll, a find of Maween diving to the basket. And if I'm K-State, I know I kind of keep saying the same thing. I keep getting Maween involved. I keep giving him the ball, and whether it's getting him out on the floor and getting him moving or throwing it to him posted up.
Last March, he had 29 points against Kansas, that time setting the screen. Easy basket for Barry Brown. And look at that, just a 5-point game. Kansas State on the road missed their first 14 shots, and they're right in it here in Lubbock. Another hustle play. Waiting to see who has the basketball. Kansas State does. Another turnover by the Wildcats.
That is a correct call. Nice play by Jada. He jumps out of bounds, saves it off Mooney, and then Mooney has to try to jump out of bounds and save it, and that is the correct call.
I mean, is this not exactly what we saw from Kansas State in March on that Elite 8 run? Grind it out, ugly offensively, but they wear you down with that D.
You know, I don't know what the word is, because I want to say look how resilient, but that almost doesn't do it justice, right? I mean, they've got no business being within 5 points in this game.
They forced Texas Tech into 12 turnovers in this game. And the offense has come alive in the second half. Here's Barry Brown again. That explosion, too much on it. McCall Maween keeps it alive. It'll stay with the Wildcats. Now Barry Brown and Kamal Stokes, those two are penetrating with force in this second half.
Well, and an adjustment by Bruce Weber, right? I mean, everything is not sideline pick and rolls. It's a flat screen or a ball screen up high.
Tariq Owens denies Brown at the rim that time. Here are the Red Raiders in transition. Moretti's got it. The Italian stallion, Davide Moretti, with his third 3 of the game.
The defense of Tariq Owens, number 2 in the Big 12 and blocking shots after 2 years of leading the Big East and blocking shots. And boy, a great rotation over and leads to a nice unselfish play by Jared Culver. He's bringing the ball down instead of forcing a shot, finds Moretti who knocks it down, and Texas Tech answers the punch.
Here in Lubbock to see the number 11 Red Raiders take on Kansas State. A great defensive Big 12 battle. Reed Geddes, Jay Alder with you. Kansas State has done a nice job keeping this crowd quiet in the second half, but we just heard it on that Davide Moretti 3.
Well, you know, and how many times have we said it? The field goal percentage seems to be predicated on how good the defense is on the other end. And well, both teams heating up here in the second half, shooting the ball.
Inside, they try and find Maween again. He's been active in this second half.
A really good set coming out of that timeout. It was a cross screen down low for Maween trying to get him the ball.
On the inbound, they send it to Barry Brown. He's been really good off the explosive dribble in this second half. And a carry is the call there. Wave off the basket. The floater high off the rim went, but a carry called.
Will be interesting to see what adjustments Chris Beard makes out of that last timeout for that on-the-ball screen up high. And the turnover is just a hesitation dribble, and that was a very good call.
We don't see a lot of them, though.
Don't see a lot of them, but if you do it and you look up and straighten up, then they're going to call that.
Lobbed inside, Tariq Owens touched it, and it's out of bounds. And we did get confirmation during that last timeout. Rick Crawford is out for the rest of the game. The official who was injured right at the start of the second half, his head went right into the shoulder of a substitute waiting to check in. So it's Jerry Pollard and Marquise Pettigrew, a two-man crew the rest of the way.
A lot of dribbling.
Shot clock continues to wind down. Brown straight away, can't stick it. And a foul called on the reach-in. Xavier Sneed, he hacked Tariq Owens. And they call a technical foul
On Brandon Francis. He's standing at midcourt.
Against Texas Tech's redshirt senior Brandon Francis. That was away from the ball.
They're like 50 feet away from the ball.
We'll get the story when we come back. Tech up by 8 in the second half.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is brought to you by Phillips 66, proud sponsor of Big 12 basketball.
That was our really impressive halftime entertainment for Reed Geddes and I. 6 balls all spinning at once right on midcourt. Now there was some confusion as we went to break. 2 simultaneous fouls. One was a personal foul called on Xavier Sneed for Tariq Owens. So Texas Tech will get the ball, but not after this foul shot, which Barry Brown misses. And that was because Brandon Francis was talking trash after the missed shot.
Was not a flagrant foul, was unsportsmanlike conduct.
So Brown gets 1 of 2. And now Texas Tech gets the basketball right back. Wildcats started this game shooting 0 for 14 from the field, and yet here they are. Credit the great defense, just within 7 on the road here in Lubbock.
And good adjustments by Bruce Weber coming out of the locker room. He has changed the way they're attacking this defense, and they've done it successfully here to start the second half.
They go to the leading scorer, Jared Culver. He lost the handle. Barry Brown in transition. Fights off the contact. The basket was made, but they said it was on the floor.
Yeah, smart foul by Moretti that time, getting Barry Brown out there beyond the free throw line.
Would you like to see Kansas State do even more in transition? That seems to be where they've been most successful tonight.
You know, I'm tempted to say yes, but the adjustments they've made are working, and I want to give the ball to Mayween if I'm K-State. Look, he's got a mismatch inside right now. Moretti on him.
It's a 6-inch height advantage for Mayween. Now they made the switch.
A smart play by Corprew to switch out on Mayween.
Stokes trying to use his mismatch. A ton of contact there. No whistle.
Good no call.
And the foul comes in on Stokes. So a tough sequence there for Kansas State. We remind you, you have to get ESPN Plus college basketball all season long. You can start your free trial today by downloading the ESPN app or visiting ESPNplus.com. They've got everything. I woke up this morning, fired it up. I was watching the English soccer in the FA Cup. Plenty of action.
Man, you had a lot of time this morning.
We had to be up early for the Texas Tech shoot-around.
Another good call. Moretti clearly pushed off. He's dribbling with his right hand, put his left forearm up and shoved off. Fans don't agree with me and Jerry Pollard.
A lot of whistles in the last couple of minutes, and it's to be expected because these two teams, the way they play with the toughness and the energy on the defensive end,
It has been a really well-officiated game, and that was before we went to a two-man rotation.
Rick Crawford, falling injured at the beginning of that second half, has forced us into a two-man crew. Jump ball call here? No, a timeout. Timeout, Kansas State. They said Xavier Sneed had full possession, and the Wildcats get to timeout and keep possession. So Jared Culver not having his best night. He only has 6 points, but the Red Raiders, they've used that second-level balanced scoring.
And not scoring that we're used to seeing, right? Generally, you talk about Texas Tech, and it's Culver, and then what has everybody else contributed? And tonight, it has been a little bit of everybody. Moretti has been particularly good shooting the ball here this afternoon.
He leads the team with 12 points. The sophomore from Italy. That's quite the commute from Bologna to Lubbock.
Is that a direct flight?
You just stole my line.
Sorry, partner.
I think you might need 3 connections.
Hey, listen, K-State just missed a golden opportunity. They were in a bad situation, picked up the ball, they were trapped, had a clean 2-on-1 to the basket and failed to convert.
Here's McCall Maween in the post, and an offensive foul called against the junior.
Yeah, same call they called on the other end, right? I mean, we saw Moretti push off with his left arm, and that time Maween with his right arm, and he dribbles and clearly pushes off.
You know, we told you earlier that he just passed his citizenship test and is a full American citizen born in South Sudan. His father is back in South Sudan as an ambassador, and they desperately need it. It's a war-torn country, and he doesn't get to see his dad all that often, but is very happy for the service he's providing.
I didn't say this earlier. That's a really cool story, right? You know, with all that's going on with immigration and staying away from all that, that's a really cool story in college basketball.
A special kid is how Kansas State described him to us. Moretti throws it up at the end of the buzzer. That's a shot clock violation. Just lost track of the timer.
Yeah, that's Deshaun Corprew. He got the ball and had no recognition. And look, part of that's on Corprew, but it's also on all of Chris Beard's other guys on the floor, that if you're in that situation, everybody needs to be talking. Well, they are giving Kansas State every opportunity to stay close coming down the wire.
16 turnovers for Texas Tech, 9 of those in the second half. The Wildcats have clawed their way back into this game, still trailing by 7 on the road. Early in the Big 12 conference play season, it does not get any better than this. 2 of the best defenses in the entire country. 2 teams that went to the Elite 8 a year ago, and they have shown why in this game. Another tough finish inside. McCall Maween has come alive.
A really good catch on a pass that was probably too low.
Culver pulls up from 3, leaves it short.
Frustration.
He is 2 for 7 from the field. Maween again. How about it? McCall Maween, back-to-back baskets.
Texas Tech's going to have to make an adjustment, right? I mean, they have run that play over and over and over again here in the second half.
And they force the turnover on the other end. Kansas State with all the momentum on the road.
Well, we talked about it coming out of the locker room. McCall Maween needs to get involved, and he does a nice job catching the ball. He's rolling to the basket, and he's finishing. And, boy, again, credit this coaching staff. This is something they did not do a single time in the first half. And adjustment at halftime, and Maween has really provided a punch here in the second half. Texas Tech in a 2-3 zone.
It's one thing to tell you the great story about the citizenship and all that, but then to come out and play like he has to inspire this Kansas State team, he's brought everything in this second half.
And Bruce is like, why didn't you tell the story in the first half? Right?
Yeah, seriously, he has picked up his game big time. And now Xavier Sneed. Now Kansas State only trailing by 3. This is the closest the game has been since it was 3-0. Texas Tech made that first 3 of the game with Matt Mooney, then went out to a 14-0 lead. And for the first time all afternoon, Kansas State only trailing by 2.
Who'd have thunk? Right. I mean, the way this game started out. Tough kids.
Snead misses the second. As in a close game, foul shooting matters. That's not good for Kansas State. They're one of the worst foul shooting teams in the country, only 62% from the line this season. Moretti on the drive with Mayween in his face. Did not matter for the Italian. Great finish.
Moretti now with 14 points to lead all scores.
Davide Moretti, a breakout game here, as Texas Tech and Kansas State have gone punch for punch in this second half. Cartier shot it for three. Left it short. Battle for the board. Mayween's got it. And a jump ball. McCall Mayween, who has all 8 points in this second half.
Look, I don't know whether he was trying to call timeout and couldn't, but I like the fact that they didn't call timeout. In a game that's this close, so often you burn a valuable timeout that you need later. You just take the jump ball, and even though it's Tech's ball, you flip it, you flip that arrow, and that's going to be a valuable timeout to keep.
Well, they only have one left. Imagine if he called it there, then they would go the last 8 minutes of this game without a timeout.
If he was aware of that, then that's tremendous coaching over there on the sideline to make the kids aware of it.
And Texas Tech only has 2 timeouts. Corner three. Can't connect. Brandon Francis, the transfer from Florida, that would have taken the roof off here in Lubbock. Open three for Snead. No good. Not that time for Xavier Snead. Would have cut it to a 1-point game. Culver in transition and a foul called. Jared Culver shooting 2 when we come back. We've got a good one here in Lubbock.
UFC fans, this is the moment you truly all been waiting for.
Xavier Snead took a big knock right before we broke away. Now the foul was not called on Snead as we take another look. Jared Culver driving right into him.
But look, it's Barry Brown's right arm that hit Snead. And Bruce Weber came out, and I don't know whether he was arguing that it wasn't a foul on Brown, or he thought that Snead was hit with an elbow. That was not Culver's elbow that hit him.
Looked like the double whammy there. Brown fouled with the left hand and knocked his teammate out with the right hand.
Yeah, no doubt. But Weber came out on the floor to check on Snead, and I'm curious whether he was arguing on the original call or he thought, in fact, Snead had been hit in the face by Culver.
And after being down for a lot of that timeout, Xavier Snead, he's up and he's back into this game. Jared Culver, only 6 points today. He leads Texas Tech in points scored, rebounds, assists. He's the do-it-all guy, certainly a Big 12 Player of the Year candidate. But you've really liked the way that Kansas State has taken him out of this game.
They've been great on him, right? I mean, he is really frustrated, and he doesn't get frustrated easily. Still rebounding the ball well, has 7 rebounds. Texas Tech, no, I thought they were going to show 2-3 back in the man. You got to go back to that on-the-ball screen up top, yeah.
Right on cue. Would you like to see them do man or zone here down the stretch?
Yeah, I think they need to mix it up. If Mayween's not on, it seems to be working. Stockard doesn't roll as well as Mayween was.
Bounces out to Brown, who hits the 3. We've got a 1-point game. Barry Brown Jr. delivers.
Only the second made 3-point field goal of the game for K-State. 2 for 14.
Moretti the answer. Got it! It's a career high for Davide Moretti. 17 points for the Italian. Stokes can't get that. Great save. Kansas State keeps it alive for the second straight possession. Goes underneath. Snead denied by Tariq Owens.
Need to find Moretti, right?
He's got the hot hand, leads all scorers today with 17, ties a career high. Cross-court pass, risky, it pays off though. And here is Moretti, ball in his hand, shot clock winding down. This time Moretti on the drive, how about it? Scoop to the hoop, career high, Davide Moretti, 19 points, and Tex leads back to 6. Tariq Owens gets the ball, draws the foul, and how about this crowd letting them know it?
You know, maybe more impressive than the baskets that Moretti is making is when he has been making them. You know, K-State goes on a rain. Barry Brown knocks down a jump shot, gets close. Moretti comes back down and answers for the second time. Then he comes down and nice adjustment by Chris Beard, calls his number, and he scores a layup, and then providing energy, and Tariq Owens with another great defensive play.
This crowd might get more excited on the defensive plays than the offensive plays.
A nice job by Chris Beard and his staff, recognizing that right now Moretti's got the hot hand and calling his number.
They kick it right back out to Moretti. Heat check. That time did not connect.
Come on, you got to go back to Mayween. This on-the-ball screen with McCall Mayween.
All 8 points for the junior have come in this second half. That time setting a screen for Brown. Left it just short. Xavier Sneed tried to keep it alive. Could not come up with it. Duke and Clemson tonight. College basketball loaded slate. 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Clemson at Cameron Indoor. You can watch it on the ESPN app as well. This is a great day for college basketball. Conference play is here for everybody. And it just means more, the intensity, the rivalries. It's great stuff.
Tariq Owens goes to the bench, and he has made 3 or 4 really nice defensive plays.
Mooney fouled shooting 2. The transfer from South Dakota will head to the line.
You know, I want to go back to Tariq Owens because he's made a nice block shot. He made the steal over on the sideline, and right before he checked out of the game, he did a great job of boxing out McCall Mayween, and Mayween was diving to the basket, and you see the slender build of Tariq Owens, and he got down low and really bodied up on Mayween.
You want to talk about making an impact. He only played 2 seasons for Chris Mullin and St. John's. He's the 5th all-time St. John's leader in blocks.
Yeah, is that good?
In half his career.
Jeez.
It all started his freshman year down in Knoxville, Tennessee. And Moretti gets a big crowd. Applause coming out for Owens.
You go, why is Chris Beard taking him out? Well, 4:40 to go. The under 4 timeout. This is to get him a breather, and you know the next dead ball will be a TV timeout, and that gives him an extra rest. Yep, good call. Freedom of movement, and that time clearly Kyler Edwards just put a body and checked Kamal Stokes cutting across.
Kansas State had cut this lead down to just 1 possession.
I think they called a technical. I think on Cartier-Jada.
And I do want to remind everybody who wasn't with us, Rick Crawford, one of the 3 officials, took a knock right at the beginning of the second half. He is out, just like a player, not able to return in this game. So it's Jerry Pollard and Marquise Pettigrew, a 2-man crew, just the rest of the way. And we were told that just a warning, no technical. 1-1 for Kansas State. That's a home rim. Iron unkind for Kamal Stokes, and Texas Tech gets the ball back after he misses the front end of the 1-1.
Coming into the game, 334th out of 351 teams in Division I basketball at the free throw line.
Shooting only 62% from the line on the season. Call on the floor.
And Barry Brown's looking at his teammates. He's imploring them, saying, "Where's the rotation over? You got at weak side help. You can't. You got to rotate over and meet him outside of the lane."
1-1 for Jared Culver. Last time he was at the foul line, he missed both of them. Now free throws at a premium, especially in a low-scoring game like this one. These games are won and lost at the foul line. And Culver misses the front end. Coming off the screen, hesitation, Stokes. 10 seconds on the shot clock. They go the McCall Mayween, why not? Bodying his way inside, nothing called. 3 on the shot clock, have to heave it, Stokes. No good. And Tariq Owens, another monster rebound.
And another good box out.
And a foul called. Tariq Owens has been everything for Texas Tech in this second half. He'll have foul shots to add to this 8-point lead.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by 5 Hour Energy Shots. Get back to 100%. And in part by Papa John's new Papa Rewards program. Earn points 5 times faster.
Big 12 basketball continues here on ESPNU. After us, we head out to TCU. 11-1 Alex Robinson hosting Baylor. They will start on ESPN News, and we'll get you right out to TCU once this finishes.
Alex Robinson, second in the country right now in assists, averaging almost 9 assists per game. And you know what, TCU, I don't know how you're 11-1 and kind of flying under the radar right now, but I think both of those teams coming up after us are better than people thought they were going to be, and TCU has the potential to push all the way up to the top.
How good is the Big 12 this year? Sure. There is no easy win in this conference.
I mean, we say it every year, right? I mean, there is no. If the bottom of the league, as people anticipate, Oklahoma State and Baylor, you know, Baylor goes into Arizona and just beats the snot out of Arizona.
Texas Tech was 10 for 10 from the foul line. They've missed their last 4. It's an 8-point lead for the Red Raiders. This ball will stay with Kansas State. The Wildcats trailed by 14-0. Then cut it all the way to 43-42. Texas Tech on a 7-0 run. And Chris Beard, you see, he wants his crowd behind the Red Raiders down the stretch here.
2-3 zone.
Gotta hurry. 2 seconds on the timer. Lost the handle. Texas Tech on the takeaway. And guess who? It's Moretti.
Yeah, nice adjustment coming out of that timeout.
Already a career high for the sophomore. 19 points tonight. He has fueled this Red Raiders second half. Turnover there off the hands of Owens. Chata trying to do it all himself, denied by Owens. Nice job getting back.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. He needs to catch that pass with 2 hands. I know it was away from him, but he just stuck his right hand up and stabbed at it. But a good job at getting back into the play by Tariq Owens.
Kansas State, they cut this lead to 43-42, and Texas Tech is punched back with a 7-0 run. Final 3 minutes of this game. Here's the freshman, Sean Neal Williams, draws the contact, almost had it and one.
Hey, listen, credit that play to Mayween. Mayween set a screen, he dove to the middle of the lane, and then he turned and sealed Tariq Owens. Tariq Owens was trying to come over to block that shot, and Mayween created that driving lane because he got big in the paint, and he puts his body on and just opens up that whole baseline. You know, for Williams to come in, and boy, they needed that basket.
They need the free throws. One of the worst foul shooting teams in the country, 62% from the line this season. And they have struggled, 10 of 18 today.
And Sean Neal Williams, that was only his 10th attempt of the season.
Finds the second one, much needed. 3-possession game, though, here in Lubbock. If you're Texas Tech, how do you close this one out?
You know, you got to keep going inside out, but Moretti's, who's had the hot hand, and they usually have been finding him on the weak side open.
Leading scorer for Texas Tech, Jared Culver, fouled as he shot. He'll get 2 shots. He's only 2 of 5 from the foul line today. He's usually at near 20 points per game. Today, only 6.
I did not think that Barry Brown got him, and he's not protesting very much. That's his 4th foul, and he jumped up and down, and yeah, that's a good call.
Right on the elbow.
Yeah, excellent call. Culver made that shot, and he rolled his head back like, finally.
The Lubbock native, he stayed home to play here for the Red Raiders. He's 2 for 2 from the line, and sometimes you have to win without your fastball, right?
Well, sometimes you just need to see the ball go through the basket, right? And you see it go through, and you go, oh, man.
He's got all 3 of them, and the Texas Tech lead is back to 10. The roar of the crowd comes again as the Red Raiders D up, trying to protect this 10-point lead. Great cut, and Jada fouled on his way to the hole. Cartier Jada heads to the foul line. We remind you, SportsCenter tonight coming to you after Clemson and #1 Duke. This is a loaded day in sports. You got the NFL playoffs kicking off, wild card weekend. Great day for college basketball. And then in the NBA, you get to see 2 of the best players, young players, I should say, go at it. Full breakdown, SportsCenter after Clemson Duke on ESPN and the ESPN app.
Needless to say, you need to make your free throws. And we talked about at the beginning of this game that we didn't think Kansas State could play this game in the 40s and win. And you and I speculated it would take 55 points to win this game. And it seems like that's going to be accurate.
Kansas State has left 9 foul shots empty, just 12 of 21.
And the question right now for Bruce Weber is, when do you start fouling and not allow? You don't do it now. The shot clock's down to 10.
Definitely playing this one out. And it's an offensive foul called against Tariq Owens.
Yeah, but that's Culver's fault. He's got to wait. It's better to be late than early. You got to wait till the screen gets there. And if you're Culver, wait till you hear pop, right? Until you hear both feet pop. You can't start while the guy's still coming towards you.
Moretti trying to pick the pocket of Cartier Jada. Have to watch a 10-second violation. It's poked away, and Culver is fouled. You think the crowd appreciates the hustle?
Can you play any harder? How many dives did he make to pop that ball loose? And boy, you should have seen Chris Beard pointing at him and applauding that kind of effort.
And this is how they practice. This is the culture.
It's how they warm up and stretch.
and so it's easy. You don't have to turn it on in the final 2 minutes. This is just how they have established themselves to play every single possession.
If you rely on having the ability to flip a switch, that's not a sustainable formula, right? You have to instill the culture where you play with that kind of intensity and energy all the time, and it starts in practice.
Now, there is an official review on that play. And remember, we only have 2 officials. It's down to Jerry Pollard and Marquise Pettigrew. Rick Crawford has missed almost the entire second half after he was knocked out to the ground at the beginning of the second half.
There's a question right now as to who the shooter was on that, not who committed the foul. And for some reason, I thought it was Culver, but we'll take a look again and see. It was not Moretti. Moretti popped that ball loose the second time, and somebody else picked it up.
You were right, Reed.
Culver,
yep.
yeah.
So 2 shots coming for Jarrett Culver. No better person you would want at the line than your leading scorer and potential Big 12 Player of the Year.
Who just made 3 free throws.
Right. Although we jinxed him there.
He's just out of it. You know, he won't have 2 games like this the entire season. And let's make sure we point out this isn't accidental. And this was the game plan. And Barry Brown and his teammates are the reason that Jarrett Culver has struggled so much in this game.
Wildcats have to do what they failed to do all day. They've got to hurry offensively. Trailing by 9, open 3, Jada can't connect. That's one they needed. Mayween battling for the board, and it's a jump ball. Possession arrow stays with the Wildcats.
Yeah, a great offensive rebound, and then he pulled it down to his waist. He pulled it down to the height of 6'3" Matt Mooney, and catch that ball up high, big fella, keep it high, and go finish the play.
You talked about the reliance of flipping a switch. Offensively, that's what Kansas State has to do. They have drained the shot clock on every possession. Now they have to hurry. They do with Snead. Rattles in and out from 3. Another offensive rebound, and Jada is fouled.
Ooh, good strong rebound by Cartier Jada.
So how difficult is that when you've taken 25 to 30 seconds on every possession to now get shots out quickly?
Well, and you're 2 for what? 2 for 15 behind the 3-point line. Very difficult. They're
2 for 20.
2 for 20.
You're making 1 out of every 10.
Yeah, so you're not wired for instant offense.
2 big foul shots for Cartier Jada. He nails the first.
Which isn't a bad way. You know, you think about going on an offensive run and you do it by shooting. Sometimes you can do it by getting a foul. Oh, man.
Oh, wow.
Already
Ow.
really rolled over the top of his ankle.
And yet, the sophomore has stayed in the game.
Are you kidding me? The kind of game he's having? No way he's coming out.
That looked like it hurt, though.
All these kids wearing low tops. I don't get it.
Maybe it's an Italian thing. As the sophomore from Bologna has a career high. That's a foul coming right across the body. Kyler Edwards got knocked.
And that's the right person to foul. Kyler Edwards is only a 59% free throw shooter.
You know, it was a funny stat as we were doing our preparation. He shoots 55% from 3 and 59% from the foul line.
You see that and you just go, huh?
So 2 shots coming for the freshman. So many of these games, especially in conference play, decided at the foul line. Neither team has been great from the charity stripe, but Texas Tech 15 to 21 after 2 Kyler Edwards makes. Kansas State has to hurry now. Only a minute left, trailing by 9. And 1 opportunity. How about it, Sean Neal Williams?
Well, what did we just say? They're not wired to suddenly knock down a bunch of threes, and here's the second possession in a row where they're converting, attacking the rim, and man, that's a great finish.
Didn't have a great look at it, and yet gets the contact, and Davide Moretti is fouled out with a career high 19 points. He picked up the last 2 fouls about 30 seconds apart. Bang, bang.
Well, we talked earlier that Sean Neal Williams coming into the game had only attempted 9 free throws, and he's got a nice looking stroke, so I anticipate he's going to knock these down.
He didn't get a good angle at that shot at all. And coming up next, Baylor and TCU. It started on ESPN News. We will get you out to that Big 12 battle once we're done here in Lubbock. And we're not finished yet. And 1 opportunity finished by Sean Neal Williams.
Well,
and just
huge.
Like that, Kansas State right back in this game.
That's huge.
Do you foul immediately here, or do you?
I try to get a steal, and then if you don't get a steal, then foul.
Matt Mooney weaving between the double team. Tariq Owens, that was probably the guy you want to foul, and they do.
Well, Tariq Owens is a 73% free throw shooter. Kyler Edwards stays on the floor, and he statistically is the least effective at the free throw line at 59%.
Made 2 of them.
Yeah.
And they didn't give Edwards the ball. So the grad transfer from St. John steps to the line for 2. Got the first.
He has done a lot of good things in this game. Tariq Owens has had an impact.
Some things won't show up in the box score. The 8 rebounds and the 3 blocks will. But he is a hustle player. He fits perfectly with the DNA here for the Red Raiders. 8-point game. Pressure still relentless from the Texas Tech defense. Open 3. Chada off the mark. Battle for the board. The hustle plays have won this game for Texas Tech. There's another one.
There's that Kyler Edwards that went flying in, that not only got on the floor, but controlled the ball and got it out to Matt Mooney.
How many times have we seen these two teams battling for a 50-50 ball today?
You know, it's funny. In the press conference, Chris Beard, someone asked him, you know, are you looking forward to playing Kansas State? He's like, what are you, nuts? You don't ever look forward to playing Kansas State. It is going to be a knockdown, drag-out game, and it's exactly what it's been.
2 programs that both found themselves in the Elite 8 a year ago. Chris Beard and Texas Tech. They have not rebuilt, they have reloaded this season. Knocking on the door of college basketball's top 10. They have shown throughout the season that they are absolutely a top-tier program. McCall Mayween, again, he has had all his points in this second half.
Has been really good.
Really good. If only he was as good in the first half, and you didn't put yourself in the hole. Remember, Texas Tech, they had that 14-0 lead. Coming up, Baylor, Tristan Clark, and TCU will get you right out for another Big 12 battle as our Saturday showcase presented by 5 Hour Energy continues in the Big 12.
Now, Tristan has had a really nice start to this season, and he may be one of those kids that has a breakout season that we're talking a lot about in the last 2 weeks of February.
There's a lot of basketball ahead, but it would not surprise me if this Texas Tech team makes another run in March. They just have that DNA about them, grinding it out just like they did today. Finally, a 3. It's only the 3rd 3 all day. 3 of 22 for Kansas State, and it's too little, too late.
3 of 22.
And look how close it was. That's maybe the most impressive stat of the night.
I mean, you looked at me like I had an explanation. I was like, I don't. I mean, we've been talking about it, that, you know, for these guys, they don't have to be great. Bruce Weber's team does not have to be great shooting the ball. If they can be average, if they can play the way they did in the second half, they're going to win a lot of games.
Upcoming schedule for the Red Raiders. I mean, it is every day. Every game, every day in the Big 12's a battle, but that's what's coming up. You go on the road to Texas and you host Oklahoma and Iowa State. Another 3, back-to-back 3s for the first time today, and I'll say it again, just too little, too late. You go 39 minutes with only 2 threes, and then you get, boom, right there, back-to-back.
I still don't have an explanation for you. But you know, remember, Bruce Weber, we've talked about it, he said, we're not a bad shooting team. We have bad shot selection. He said, but we have kids that can make baskets, and their upcoming schedule, it's going to be tough for them. They've got 3 of their next 4 on the road.
And that is why you want the Big 12 preseason player of the year, Dean Wade, back as soon as possible. It does not get easier for Kansas State. They were picked second in the Big 12 for good reason. They returned 93% of the scoring from that team that made the Elite Eight. But without their star player, it's tough in the Big 12. Texas Tech wins this one 63-57. A well-fought battle between two of the top 10 defenses in the entire country. That's all we have from Lubbock. Texas Tech gets the winner. Let's head to Fort Worth, where Baylor's taking on TCU. Enjoy it.